everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Woo! It's Halloween. Which means I can do scary things. And there's a scary thing. I mean, not because it's having a ridiculous camo on and looks like a freaking anglerfish. No, because that's a carrier. And if you've been around on this channel, you do know that I am, well, how do I put this? Not the best at carrier playing quite yet. I can kind of deal with the other ship classes, but carriers, I do need a bit of practice, I think. Maybe like a year or so, or maybe 2. So why am I reviewing a carrier then? Well, because it's Halloween. So if you want something scary and dreadful, you might as well get me reviewing carriers and watch me playing carriers. What is this then? This is, well, if we take the hideous camouflage away, we actually see what is this. This is the Indomitable, the British premium tier 8 carrier that's currently in the Halloween event. Actually, for all you non-English speakers out there, which includes me as well, what does Indomitable mean? It actually means someone or something that cannot be defeated or overcome. So, well, there you go. The actual Indomitable was an illustrious class carrier, and one out of, I think, 4 or so that the British were building during the Second World War, so the ship actually existed. The illustrious class had a slightly different kind of setup than other contemporary carriers, because the British decided that they were going to armor the flight deck. Now, the Americans, for example, were having armor, obviously, on their carriers, but it was under the flight deck. It was more of a actual ship armored deck, and then the flight deck was more like a hangar stuck on top of it, whereas the British built armored hangars on top of it. One of the reasons that I found why they did that was because they were expecting to operate more in the Atlantic around England and in the Mediterranean, and they were going to operate within range of land-based aircraft. And land-based bombers can often carry larger payloads than carrier-based aircraft. So these armored decks on the illustrious class carriers were supposed to be withstanding up to, like, I think 1,000 pounds, whatever that is in proper measurement, of bomb ordnance. And, well, it did come with its own set of problems, obviously, because, well, it's make them rather top heavy, and these were treaty carriers, so they were limited in tonnage. But the actual Indomitable here in the game has, well, obviously, let's skip about the other stuff and talk about the planes for a minute. Because, well, that's the first thing you really look at with the carrier. What kind of planes does she have? And this thing had Sea Hornets. Now, I first thought that they were making a mistake and they meant the Sea Hurricanes, because I've never even heard of a Sea Hornet. And that's because these actually were planes that were introduced after the war. So these are de Havilland Hornets, which was kind of a smaller version of the de Havilland Mosquito. These were twin-engine planes. And we can't really see it. Well, we can, if we're zooming in a little bit, which is unusual because the British would normally not be parking these on top. The British didn't have a habit of parking their planes on top of their carriers, other than the Americans, which meant that even though the illustrious class carriers had a very similar capacity to the American carriers, they tended to carry fewer planes, just because they would make sure that they're all underneath. So here we see them, they're twin engine, and the actual Hornets were having a wing folding mechanism, I think, so that you could fold parts of the wings up, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. Anyway, there they are on top, twin engine planes. These were introduced, I think, in the late 40s or early 50s, and they existed, and the Sea Hornet was a thing. They were actual carrier aircraft, although initially designed to be long-range fighter bombers. So they were built for power, endurance, long range, and at least according to the test pilots at the time, these were absolutely magnificent planes, about the best propeller planes around that anybody could find. Massive amounts of power, very maneuverable, very good on handling, but big. Twin engine twin engine machines. So, Sea Hornets. So this is not the Second World War loadout. This is not what the Indomitable would have actually had on board during the Second World War, but this is the later loadout. Now, here comes a little bit, what's the thing about this carrier? So, she doesn't have any torpedo bombers. That's kind of the first thing I noticed. Like, wait a minute, there's dive bombers and there's fighters. Where are the torpedo bombers? There aren't any. You get dive bombers, 3 squadrons with 3 planes each, and these planes have an absolutely enormous amount of hit points. 2,700 on the dive bombers, but the bomb damage looks relatively low, and the fire chance looks extremely low as well. Until you realize that each plane carries 4 bombs. So, so each squadron can drop 12 bombs rather than 1 bomb per plane, what is the normal loadout for dive bombers. Because these are probably, I don't know if these were used as dive bombers, or if, I mean, they're called dive bombers here, or if these were used as level bombers, but they carry 4 per plane. So even though you're not actually having a large amount of damage on the bomb, you get, 12 shots per squadron, and you've got 3 of those. Which means that your primary way of doing damage is going to be fires. Because even though the fire chance itself is relatively low, you do get a lot of times that chance. So you actually have an effective fire chance that is relatively decent with these things. But in return, you are not getting torpedoes. And that can be a serious drawback. Let's keep on looking at the fighter. You get 1 fighter squadron of 4 fighters, which doesn't sound spectacular until you realize that these are also Sea Hornets. Yes, this is a bit of a Saipan situation, I think. I mean, I haven't actually played the Saipan, but I've heard stories. And yes, these things also get 2,700 hit points, and they're doing 173 points of damage. So, while the damage isn't absolutely outrageous, these are definitely not your off-the-shelf tier 8 fighters. We'll have a quick look and afterwards. So, what else? Relatively sturdy ship. And 10.5% damage reduction for a carrier isn't terrible. 35,000 hit points, roundaboutish. She is pretty quick with 29 knots. And for carriers, you can definitely run away from destroyers. And you kind of have to, because you don't have any torpedo bombers. And even though you have these slightly modernized carpet bombing things, actually hitting destroyers with these is relatively difficult. And even if you do, you're only doing 600 points of damage, which is round about what a 150mm shell from a light cruiser would do, from a good one. So destroyers are the bane of your existence in this thing, as it is actually really difficult to. I've spent when I was trying her out, I've spent a minute and a half trying to sink a Kagero, which was capping us, and I just couldn't kill the damn thing with dive bombers. So guns. Again, the British believed that carriers should be able to defend themselves in the air, because they initially weren't really having things like radar-controlled fighter vectoring and stuff like that wasn't really a thing in the beginning. So at the design, they still kitted these out with a full set of 114mm AA guns. They're not doing a huge amount of damage, but they have a decent range of 7 kilometers. Very decent range. So if you are getting attacked by a destroyer, and you will in this thing, then this is definitely something you can use just to, kick a bit of additional damage down range. The AA isn't terrible, although I was kind of expecting a bit more from the large caliber with the 114 mils, because these should be dual purpose guns, but it's not a dreadful amount of AA. For tier 8, you're not American battleship level though. Surface detection of 9 kilometers is pretty decent as well, but this is with the full set of camos and build and everything, and we get to that right now. So equipment. Slot 1. Now you could, if you needed more dive bombers, actually use the hangar modification, because you don't actually have any torpedo bombers. So you could get 20% more dive bombers for free. I have not found this to be a problem unless I'm up against another Indomitable. Instead, I've used the fighter modification to make my fighters a bit faster and ever so much more efficient. Second slot, I'll put in air defense, which gives me a bit more on the small caliber AA, which is actually pretty good. And the third one I have put into concealment, because, well, you're in a carrier. You do not like to get spotted. In terms of supplies, I've put the AA ammo and hit points and speed for both the dive bombers and the fighters. The commander I've put in, again, this is a tier 8, so I've put a level 8 commander in. You don't get any ship skills or whatever, so the aerobatic maneuvers in 1, everything else is set up for tanking, and obviously the dogfight specialist to make your fighters ever so slightly better. So let's have a very quick look, and just to compare. So let's take a look at the stats of these fighters again. 2,700 hit points, 173, 84, 60. Now I've taken the Lexington and actually put the same modules in there, and the Lexington fighters have about 700 less hit points. They do about 15 points less damage. So you've got better fighters than the Lexington in this thing, most definitely, because they have a lot more hit points to begin with. In a one-on-one fight, in a fair fight, you will murder American fighter planes. Unless they manage to, pull you into the friendly AA, which happens to me more often than not because, I'm not very good at carriers. But in a fair fight, you're going to be... I don't know what the Saipan fighters are looking like, because I don't actually have the Saipan in my press account for some reason. But it'd be an interesting matchup to see how the Saipan and the Indomitable would be going against each other. Right, so yes, your fighters are very, very good, and you don't have any torpedo bombers, but you do have rather sturdy dive bombers that drop a lot of bombs. All right, I think that sums about it up. Okay, camouflage, last thing. I've actually got 2 battles. One I played with the Seaborne Assault, because I generally, if you just get the ship and you don't have the premium historical camo or anything, just wanted to see how that plays. The other one I've played in the Leviathan camouflage, which makes it look like an oversized anglerfish. I'm generally not a fan of these, but I figured it's Halloween, so it gives additional fighter speed, fighter damage, bomber speed, bomb damage. So this is an all-out useful. The historical camo goes more into surface detection and ship hit points, which is also not bad to have. Anyway, let's go. Let's get into a battle. In this first battle, we're up against, another tier 8 premium, the Enterprise, American carrier. What else? Roma, Bismarck, Nagatoo, Gneisenau, and 2 destroyers. Okay, let's go. Given the sheer amount of Legendary League players in the enemy team, doesn't fill me with supreme confidence, but we'll see what we can do. The main purpose of the Indomitable, from what I've found so far, is not necessarily to do huge amounts of damage. It is to suppress the enemy carrier. And she is very, very good at this. Keep in mind when you're seeing this that I'm not actually very good at playing carrier and doing things like fighter scouts and fighter pools. So I'm sending the fighters out in the middle, and just the dive bombers down there just to see what I can find. Now I do have to watch out with the enemy fighters, so I'm pulling back my fighters, hoping that they haven't quite attached yet. So I'm going to try and capture them and pull back. Have I managed? No, not really. They're not engaging, so they're running away. Okay, now I'm in a dogfight where I didn't want to be, but I'm in a one-on-one dogfight with Enterprise fighters, and that's not going to end well for the Enterprise fighters. 1 is 2, and what have we found? There's a Gaja. Yeah, so this is what happens when you try to bomb a destroyer with these things. Yeah, that's underwhelming. 3,000 damage, 3,000 points of damage, and a fire. So that's not grand. In the meantime, my fighters have to get back and busy and try to do something about just trying to help out the Kagero here and defend against these torpedo planes. I can't quite prevent the drop, but I can definitely make sure that they're not going back home if I can. And then it's 1. And keeping the Tashkent spotted, just to make sure. And that was the end of that torpedo squadron. Okay, my dive bombers are back and reloaded. So let's see, what have we got? Roma, flammable, not great AA, a dangerous ship. Okay, next target. You're set on fire, so that should have, hopefully I can set you on fire again if you're damage conning that. And my fighters got into a dogfight with the Enterprise fighters again, because I haven't been paying attention because I was sending my dive bombers out. But this is fine, because I'm not necessarily, I hope I'm not inside an actual AA bubble of an enemy ship, so I killed them all. Okay, that's a triple fire on the, on the Roma, so these should burn for a bit. Okay, and meanwhile I'm just going to try and chase down these dive bombers. Gets 1 down, that's 2, 3 down. See, that's the thing, right? With the Indomitable fighters, it's a little bit of how I understand the Saipan works. The fighters are up, and I'm back in a one-on-one dogfight, and I haven't ever recalled these fighters, right? So they've never been able to recharge their health. This is still the first fighter squadron, and I've already killed outright 2 squadrons from the Enterprise. Okay. Roma seems to be still burning, but that Gneisenau is pushing, so I'm gonna have to do something about it. Meanwhile, it looks like we're 2 ships down and our team hasn't killed anything. My fighters are... Okay, I'm starting to lose fighters, so after this I'm probably going to recall them, because I am in the AA bubble of the Nagato there, just so they can restore their health. Okay, can I please have a fire on the Gneisenau? Nope, 21 bomb hits, no fire. Okay, Nelson is there. Nelson can set the Gneisenau on fire. And yeah, our team, okay, we've got 1 kill, but our team has completely collapsed on the C flank, and the A flank is under threat. Nelson is fighting a retreating battle there against Gneisenau, so I do have to help him. There's 1 lone destroyer. Yeah, okay, there was 1 lone destroyer. Yeah, you're never going to win a fight with the Tashkent in the Kagero. If the Tashkent knows what they're doing, and that player knew what they were doing. Okay. The other Kagero is down. Okay, that doesn't look good. Alright, that means the Tashkent's probably going to come for me, but I have Gneisenau problems, and I'm spotted. Okay, so that means I can't really manage my fighters right now. Okay, fighters, where are you going to go? Okay, you stick with the Tirpitz while I'm gunning down the Gneisenau. Excuse me. Okay, Gneisenau's on fire, finally. Guns aligned. I know that there's a battleship in the Tashkent coming, but we're down 3-6, and I really don't see how we can win this. Unless someone kills something very, very quickly. Okay, so that's gunning the Gneisenau down, and there comes the Tashkent. My dive bomber should be reloaded. Okay, but yeah, Tashkent rushing me. I'm not on a kiting away course, because I had to actually disengage from the Gneisenau, and I am probably very, very dead here right now. I mean, I'm doing a decent amount of damage on the Tashkent, but the Tashkent player knows what they're doing. They're not going to fall for my tricks here, not fall for the torpedo bait. And I can't turn fast enough to outturn a full speed Soviet destroyer. So there come the torpedoes, and that's the end of me. But I was the second to the last player anyway. Our team has completely folded at this point. But I have killed 26 planes, and I've done 51,000 points of damage. So I mean, that wasn't terrible. And I mean, while I think the dive bombers are. There's not much skill involved with the dive bombers. You send them somewhere, you set stuff on fire, and that's that. But I have definitely not been managing my fighters as much as I could have done. But I have killed 26 planes. And the Enterprise managed to kill 5. So, yeah, there's that. But yeah, other than that, my team has completely folded. But we've done a very decent amount of fire damage. And that's really how you can deal damage. That's the only way how you can deal damage in the ship. If you can target battleships or cruisers with this, ideally, because you can get so many bomb hits in, and you will set fires even with the 10% fire chance. If you're dropping 12 bombs per squadron, you will eventually set fires. Managing the fires correctly and getting fires set and perma-fire set is the only way to rack up your damage numbers. You may want to space out your dive bombers a little bit more, not something that I've done here really, because again, the battle was just me trying to get panicking and trying to kill things as quickly as possible. Let me put it that way. But yeah, if you space out your bombers and do things like that, you might be more effective. But after this, I decided to put the, well, dreadful camo on. And make myself look like a big-ass Halloween monster. And, yeah, go up against... What have we got? Okay. We're playing Golden Channel. And we're up against the Shokaku. Bismarck, Amagi, Nelson, Fiji, Xianyang, Ilk, and Gaja. Okay, so Xianyang we're going to have to watch out for. And obviously, again, I'm up against the carrier player who actually knows what they're doing. Which is always bad news when this happens. All right, let's go. Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to do a huge amount against the destroyers. Because you're basically just wasting your bombs. I mean, you can maybe take half health of a destroyer with all 3 waves of dive bombers. But it's usually actually really not worth it. So I'm just going to try and spot them for the rest of the team. I've got 2 cruisers with me. So how much do you want to bet that I'm going to have to dogfight destroyers again? Alright then. Nope, their fighters go the other way. Okay, down this way. Let's see. Let's send the fighters in the middle, just in case the Shokaku comes around that way. And send the dive bombers out on a little tangent so they can come in from the side. Okay, there come the enemy planes. Now I am trying not to get my fighters pulled. But if I'm up against an enemy carrier that knows what they're doing, then this is not always going to work. Okay, so I might have actually been able to get that. Yep, there's 1, 2. I've got those dive bombers. Okay, there's the Gaja. I got him spotted, and dropped some things on the Fiji. Okay, I haven't been able to do much about this torpedo drop though, because I was still chasing down the dive bombers. But yeah, obviously the enemy carrier with the torpedo drops goes for our destroyers and is very, very effective in this. So I'm trying to chase down as much as possible these torpedo planes and keeping the Gaja spotted. Look, there's a Gaja. Oh, there's the Xianyang. Oh, okay, now damn it. I am now captured. And I'm probably in somebody's air bubble because my fighters are dying, which they don't usually do because these are just Japanese fighters. So, yeah, that's what happens. Okay, I'm gonna drop... okay, the Amagi goes this way around. There's Fiji. Okay, Amagi is somewhat isolated, not great AA. I'm gonna try and drop some bombs on him. At least our team does one thing right. Okay, one of my fighters survived, so I'm gonna have to pull them back and recharge them, which takes a while, which means the enemy carrier has free reign inside the cap circle now, while I'm refilling my fighters, which is unfortunate. I've got free reign on the Amagi as well, but anyway, let's move forward a little bit, because while we are holding the cap circle and the enemy carrier is doing his level best to support his team, but his team doesn't like to be supported, we are losing our flank here, because I think just something, yeah, okay, we've lost both of our destroyers, and there was a destroyer spotted just over there. So, yeah, there's the Xianyang. Okay, so Xianyang comes around. There is a cruiser here, but I don't have doubts. So I'm going to have to waste, again, my dive bombers. And I'm trying to not get my fighters captured, but again, if I'm up against the carrier who knows what they're doing, I have no chance, really. So... there should be Xianyang torpedoes in the water. I mean, I'm keeping him spotted, right? I'm keeping him lit up here. We've got an Amalfi and a Zara. What are they doing? Shooting at battleships. Okay, there comes some torpedoes. And, well, we're still holding the cup at least. Well, that's something. So I'm going to find that Xianyang. So instead of doing damage and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or managing my fighters really, well, no, my fighters are recharging anyway, I am chasing a Xianyang. Okay, where are you? You were somewhere around here. Are you coming around this way? Are you coming around this way? Okay, I positioned myself there just so I can at least give some AA cover with my own ship. But I'm starting to take damage, probably from that battleship over there. And until my fighters are back, but I need to find the Xianyang first. Where is he? Oh, there he is. Okay, there you go. Okay. Because again, the battleship's supposed to be in the caps. The cruisers are supposed to hunt down the destroyers that I'm lighting up, not the other way around, people. But at least everybody is in the cap, so I can't really complain out too much. But again, my fighters are not being super useful. Okay, fighters, you stay somewhere over there, because I have Xianyang problems. Okay, he's probably got torpedoes away at this point. Yeah, he probably would have launched. Is he turning away? Yeah, I think he's turning away. Okay, I'm taking fire from the Amagi. Xianyang smoking up. So I'm just turning out, and yeah, there come the torpedoes. They're easy to dodge, no problem whatsoever. But I am under fire from the Amagi, and I do need to kill that bloody Xianyang. Fortunately, one of our cruisers has finally realized that there's a dangerous destroyer outflanking us. And but at this point, I've been dive bombing him and shooting him with my guns for the last 2 minutes or so. So finally, we're getting some support from the Italian cruiser here. But again, my dive bombers are not super effective against this. Okay, okay, Amagi, you're not really needed to kill the Xianyang. Why are you coming back here? Capture circle. Oh my gosh. Okay. So again, of course, in all that mayhem, I've got my fighters captured again. So they're probably all gonna die, which is very unfortunate because I think I could. I mean, I could have totally shredded the Shokaku fighters in a fair fight, but of course he doesn't want to take fair fights, rightfully so. Okay, so the Amagi is dead. My fighters are of course dead again, so which means I couldn't provide air cover for the Tirpitz, which is something I actually wanted to do. Yeah, but see people, that's why you keep destroyers away from your carriers, because you know, if they can't focus, then they can't give you air cover. If they're busy running away and getting into gunfights with destroyers. Okay, 10 seconds until my fighters are back up. Okay, Fiji. I think Tirpitz has survived. Yeah, Tirpitz has survived. So Tirpitz can kill Fiji. So whatever's in the capture circle needs to die. Okay, Nelson, you're in the capture circle. No AA whatsoever. You need to die. And I've got my fighters back out. So the next wave coming in, probably trying to kill the Tirpitz. I can try to intercept those. Okay, there comes some there comes some torpedo bombers. Nelson is something that I can deal with. And okay, and we'll just chase these torpedo bombers. Finally, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which is to kill enemy planes. Okay, I'm gonna stop here so I'm not running too far ahead. Back to my fighters. Where am I? Yeah, okay, killed all the torpedo bombers. They didn't get a drop off on the Tirpitz. Now I'm gonna chase the dive bombers and doing the exact same thing. See, this is the power of the Indomitable. If you're not currently busy shooting at destroyers with your main battery, is to absolutely outright murder enemy air groups. So all these planes are not going to come back. I think the enemy carrier is actually in the cap, but we are too far ahead that they can't really do anything anymore. So I'm just going to get some drops onto the Shokaku. Very well played, keeping my fighters, getting my fighters killed. No easy feat against the planes this powerful. So very well done, but unfortunately your team had no concept of capturing the area, and that's how we won. And yeah, that's the Indomitable for you. An extremely powerful. It's kind of, I think it's like a tier 8 Saipan, but extremely powerful with fighters, and the dive bombers, if used correctly, can do a lot of damage as well. They're pretty much wasted on destroyers, so you do really want to try and set fires on larger ships, because you're not going to do a huge amount of alpha damage with the dive bombers. But fires are the way to go, and yeah. It's a noob carrier. Look, just the fact that I was able to pull off a battle star in a tier 8 carrier should give you a clue that this thing isn't actually that difficult to play. Even if you don't know how to manage your fighters and get into fair fights, dogfights, it'll absolutely wreck enemy air groups. So that's what that thing is. All right. That's it for today. Enjoy Halloween, boo and everything. So, and see you next week. Thanks. Bye bye.